So we are now well and truly in transfer window season. Transfermarkt here to talk about all those stories once again, and I think we just kind of have to jump straight into this, guys. This week, there's a big story at Arsenal, which is Benjamin Sesko from RB Leipzig. It's a story that I wasn't entirely convinced of early in the year, if I'm being honest with you. You know, Arsenal get linked with a lot of players. Ben, you'll know that more than most people. It's almost like a running joke in the Premier League that any young player in Europe gets linked with Arsenal. But this one is picking up a lot of pace, a lot of steam, whatever kind of simile you want to use. And it's a big story. It's getting reported a lot in England. You did a story for Transfermarkt this week looking into Benjamin Sesko, his history in Germany and Austria. What have you made of him as a player? What do you think his strengths are? And what do you think he would bring to this Arsenal team if he did move this summer?
Yeah, I think from the bits I've seen about him and the bits I've learnt about him when putting together that article, I think the transfer makes sense in a lot of ways. It's not going to be an astronomical fee. I mean, it seems crazy that we're talking about sort of 60, 65, 70 million euros as not an astronomical fee, but that is the era we're in right now. When you see other players go for well over 100 million. So he's 21, just turned 21 last week. A 6'5" striker. You could argue that the difference perhaps between Manchester City and Arsenal last season was Erling Haaland and the 27 goals he provided. If Arsenal are to catch up with them and bridge that gap even more to try and wrestle the title away next season, I think bringing in someone like Benjamin Sesko could make a huge difference. And I think one attribute that he possesses, which I think is really, really key that Arsenal add to their ranks this summer, is pace. Because it's an area that Arsenal really lacks in attacking areas. Martinelli is the only real attacking player at Arsenal with raw speed, and it meant that when Martinelli was severely out of form for a lot of last season, he was basically forced to play because Arsenal didn't have another outlet. They didn't have someone they could counter-attack to and knock it long in behind. There's rumours that if Sesko does come in, that Arteta may also use him as a left winger. I think you can perhaps tell us a little bit more about that, Stefan, from watching him in the Bundesliga. But he's obviously got that height as well, and that's another factor that I think Arteta is building a team of giants, really. You look at what Guardiola and Arteta are doing with the back fours, often playing 4 centre-backs now. So Arsenal got Declan Rice in there, Kai Havertz, all players 6'1", 6'2 plus, and Sesko at 6'5" would add to that. But I think it could be a really interesting purchase and something Arsenal could really work out for him. I think it could be a good signing.
Yeah, he certainly is a big guy. Our colleague Mario Vet actually interviewed him last year, I believe, and he spoke quite eloquently about how he used to play basketball for some time now. He is kind of continuously compared to Erling Haaland. I'm not entirely sure he enjoys that comparison. I think he probably thinks himself as a different type of player. Yes, he's a kind of big lanky guy who can, eat up the ground in front of him with incredible pace, but I would say that Sesko is probably more of a dribbler, to be honest with you, and that's why he can kind of get shifted out wide into those kind of inside forward roles if called upon. But if you kind of look at his stats for Leipzig this season, 18 goals and 2 assists. That's a player who really has played more of a kind of number 9, and that is how he has played this season. I must admit to mixed results, not to kind of downplay his talent. And, I think he's got bags of talent. I think he's got bags of potential. But I think because of the way that Leipzig unexpectedly sold so many players this summer, and, we obviously talked about Christopher Nkunku and Szoboszlai as well, Dominic Szoboszlai, the two obvious ones. Of course, Josko Gvardiol was the other one who moved to Manchester City. But it was those two attacking players. I don't think Leipzig expected to lose both of them. So I think Marco Rose has spent a lot of this season just kind of trying to shuffle the pack and seeing what would stick. They've been very fortunate. They had Xavi Simons come in and do so well because Dani Olmo was expected to step up and be that main man this season. He hasn't really done it. He picked up some injuries, but it's been a really forgettable season for him. And Xavi Simons has made himself the key man with Louis Openda, the kind of more kind of powerful striker, and then Benjamin Sesko, who's the more kind of lightweight dribbler. And they've kind of worked well, but at times they have kind of bumped into each other. They've stepped on each other's toes. There's been a lot of frustration. Even just the fact that Sesko kind of making those runs that Openda would want to make because he's so used to playing as like the lone striker. So I don't know. The impression I've kind of got of him this season is that he's a very raw and very talented player, but he just doesn't strike me as the kind of finished article. And this season felt very much like one in which he was kind of coming to terms with the Bundesliga, the pace of it, the physicality of it. And for him to then jump ship and go straight to the Premier League, I would probably find a little concerning, just because, we've seen so many players make the step up to the Premier League and they kind of all of a sudden look like, Bambi on ice or a fish out of water, whatever you want to call it. And so I think there is that risk to it. I know you mentioned that, Arteta probably isn't signing him to be their kind of number 9 and, the starting striker going forward. But, at the end of the day, if they start falling back in the league title, people will start questioning the money that was spent on him, and he'll have to start kind of showing results very quickly. So let me throw this to you, Ewan, because, taking that kind of responsibility off Sesko for a moment and what he can or can't do in an Arsenal top, let's look at Arsenal themselves and question or look at whether they actually do have to go out and spend 60 or 70 million euros on a striker. Do you think this team that we saw this season is crying out for number 9? Or do you think we could be in a situation where, a bit like Manchester City, where they've had this kind of towering number 9 kind of shoehorned into the team, and at times it doesn't look as though it's worked that well for them?
Yeah, I think that's probably one of the positions they need to strengthen this summer, as it's centre forward. They've had Kai Havertz playing there, who's had a very good end to the season, certainly. But is his best position as a number 9? Like, people would probably argue for that. People would probably argue against that. I don't think it's set in stone that that's necessarily his best position. I think Eddie Nketiah will move on in the summer. I think his time at Arsenal's come to an end. That's an interesting subplot as well, because I think you could probably get a good fee for Nketiah, given he's English and good age. He has scored goals at a decent rate across his career, so he can maybe get 30 million euros for Nketiah, maybe higher than that. Look at the fee that Balogun went for the summer before that. You probably want to look to get somewhere near that for Nketiah, so that could also help subsidise the move for Sesko. You've got Gabriel Jesus as well, whose future I think is uncertain as well, but he can play off the side as well. So yeah, I think the number 9 and Sesko certainly fits the bill. If he's got a release clause that's been mooted, it's a pretty decent fee for a player of his potential. Like 7 goals, and I think he scored in his last 7 Bundesliga games last season, so he's obviously in form, and that hopefully indicate for Arsenal they're getting a player who's coming into his forward, finding his game. I think it makes a lot of sense. It's a really sensible transfer for Arsenal. In the main part, under Mikel Arteta and Edu, their transfer record has been pretty good. So I think you trust them to go out and get a player who's going to improve the team short term and not obviously long term with someone at Sesko's age.
Ben, before we finish up, let me just throw one name at you, Gabriel Jesus, for 2 reasons. He was the last kind of big name striker that Arsenal did sign. Perceived, I think, fairly as like a kind of younger player, a work in progress, a project for Arsenal to work on. Do you think Arsenal fans might look at Sesko joining this summer and think, well, we tried to pick up a work in progress a few summers ago for Manchester City and it didn't work out. Why aren't we going out and finding these ready-made stars to help us get to that last bit in the Premier League? And then secondly, do you think if Sesko does join, do you think that probably spells the end for Gabriel Jesus at the club?
Referring to your first point, I would probably say the position Arsenal were in when Gabriel Jesus and Zinchenko came in, I think they were seen as ready-made stars. At that time, Arsenal had just come 5th the season before. Gabriel Jesus was off the back of winning titles after titles with Manchester City. I think when he came in, it was seen as it was a really exciting signing. It wasn't one for the future. He was 25 years of age. He was brought in as part of the captaincy group at the club. I think he was meant to be the star man. He obviously had that really serious injury that he picked up at the World Cup in his first season, which has really, really hindered Jesus' career, because he made an electric start as well. Watching him in that first 10 games was so exciting. The goals he was scoring, the dribbles he was going on, he's failed to maintain that since the World Cup. And I mean, there's been quotes going around as he doesn't really see himself as a natural goal scorer. Towards the end of the season, we saw him moved out wide, which I do think potentially could be an alternative for him looking forward. I think he's such a talented player. I think if you can keep him fit, you want to keep him at Arsenal, because I think Arsenal have got money to spend this summer. They've got a lot of money from the Champions League prize money, getting to the quarterfinals, from coming second in the Premier League. I think the revenue's high at the club. Like you mentioned, players like Eddie Nketiah will move on. So I don't think there'll be a need to sell Jesus, but the one fear would be if he's going to have the injury problems again and he's going to play only 10, 15 games a season, then it might make sense to cash in now, because you could probably still get 50 million euros for him because of the talent he's got. But I would like to see Jesus carry on at Arsenal, because he's got that versatility to play across the front three as well. And if fit, you've got a great footballer great footballer there.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, very exciting times for Arsenal. Potential new striker joining the club. Maybe a shift in tactics for Mikel Arteta next season to kind of get him that one step closer to a Premier League title. If you're interested in this story, you can, of course, check out Ben's story on our website. It's across all English domains. But, of course, you can also head to our website and head to our rumour mill, where you can check out all the latest transfer stories over the course of this transfer window. We'll be talking about most of them this summer, but until then, we'll speak to you again soon.